You are now listening to Sentinel Soundbytes.
So we are live. All right.
Hello and welcome back to the Sentinel Soundbytes podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Bunnell. Today we are joined by two very special guests. We have Miss Amy Mason and now recurring guest, Miss Clair Wright, joining us to talk about something pretty special as a part of the mission of the ASCTE. We talk about Mandate 1, establishing the school, Mandate 2, supporting the state in growing their cyber and engineering capacities. And we also have got into doing some professional development for teachers recently, and talking about Teams PD. So today, teacher excellence and accountability of math and science, those contracts that exist. I'm going to let these two lovely ladies explain what that is and how ASCTE is getting involved to support that initiative that the state's established. So, Ms. Mason, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you. And can you kind of educate our audience on your understanding and your knowledge of what Teams is, why it exists, and just a kind of baseline if someone's hearing that and go, what's a Teams contract and a teacher? Like, what is that and why does it exist here in our state?
Absolutely. So schools are having a difficult time with recruiting and retaining high quality teachers. And one way that they have combated that is through the Teams contract, where teachers have the opportunity in those critical shortage areas of science and mathematics to earn additional compensation, with the caveat that they will be also participating in more extensive professional development. And for many schools in our state, there are not as many opportunities for professional development that are just readily available. So we kind of seize that opportunity through our mission, through ASCTE, of providing opportunities across the state, but realizing that there's an overlap between the talent of our faculty here and the needs that exist in schools across the state to provide some professional development and training that would support their needs.
Beautiful. Well, and then Clair, to kind of go on that, we have been involved in this for about a year now. So can you kind of talk at us a little bit about what the last year of supporting the Teams initiative has looked like and what we've done here, both on campus and off of it, possibly?
So we're in a unique position. We're the only professional development provider that I know of that's a working high school. And when we were trying to figure out where we could fit into this, Alabama already has strong professional development opportunities. We didn't want to compete. We wanted to insert ourselves in a new area. And what we immediately realized was this building and our instruction strategy and our approach to teaching is set up for observation. The classrooms here are lined with glass. There are constantly administrators, visitors, other teachers. We are a population of teachers that visit each other's classroom. So the children and the teachers are already used to having visitors. And so we started off, we did 4 sessions during the school year where we brought Teams teacher in and they sat in the classroom while I did some direct instruction with my freshmen. We called them Cyber Immersion Days, and we picked cybersecurity topics that were at a freshman level, which we felt like they could easily transition down to a middle school level, or if a teacher is teaching pre-cal or calculus, they could increase the rigor to match that of their students. That had a cybersecurity implication, but also had math and or science that they could take back to their classroom and let them really see how this gets taught. And then they can take that lesson back. We paired that with we have a makerspace here. We got them into the makerspace area and taught them some unplugged cybersecurity activities, some cryptography that they could also take back to their classes. So they left here having done a hands-on lab, having seen some instruction, and then we did a roundtable debrief and just gathered these professionals around the table and gave them a chance to talk about what they're struggling with and what did they see here that might work in their classroom. We don't in any way assume that all of the things that work here are going to work in a traditional school because we're so far from that. But the point of any PD experience is that one nugget. You don't need 85 things to take back. Can you get one thing that can take back and push the craft of teaching in your room a little bit farther? And I think I was surprised, and I think Amy maybe too, of the things that they took back weren't necessarily what we expected, but they all did take something back, and we got some feedback about that. And then we just wrapped up yesterday 2 days of a more intensive PD on machine learning, where we spent 1 day teaching them different machine learning topics and algorithms, and how some of these devices work. all of which have a math and science connection. So we did a nearest neighbor algorithm, which is a riff on graphing, and we did evolutionary machine learning algorithms, which are based on natural selection. And then we gave them a day to take what they had learned and developed an interactive activity for their students. They had time to work on it. We paused and stopped about how do we assess this, and is the point of this compliance and participation, or are we trying to measure learning, and what are we trying to measure their learning of, the content or the machine learning, and gave them space and peer review so that they could build something specific to their students and their population. We are never going to say you should teach this exact thing. We want to take the amazing Alabama professionals and give them time to expand what they're already doing.
Yeah.
So we just wrapped that up.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to go back to the first kind of the Cyber Immersion Days you talked about, and you mentioned the uniqueness of, and Amy, I'm going to turn it to you because you've wore the hat of a school principal before and an administrator, and you get to travel the country and our state, seeing schools and processes and how they go. And I would like for you to talk a little bit about how unique it is to have teachers, like she talked about, in a classroom while instruction is going on, getting to observe that as a professional development. And as you built these and were a part of the organization of all this, how you saw that as with your administrator hat on, of how important it could be to a teacher to not just sit in a conference room and take notes, but to sit in a classroom and see it and feel it. And just like, as you were building this, what your perspective was because of your past, what you thought about the whole concept.
Right. So children are not robots. And Mary Claire, bless her, was very vulnerable to allow students in a live educational environment for teachers to watch what that interaction would be. Because ultimately, you never know what they might say or do. But she has the structure in her classroom where she knows that it's going to be high quality discussion. And she creates an experience for students where she engages them at the beginning of the lesson, and then they get to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And so for teachers to be able to see real students actually doing that work, I think it's extremely valuable. I think also the foundational piece of ASCTE, where content is integrated across, the cyber and engineering structures that are built into content. It was a great way for teachers to see how they don't have to operate in silos when they're teaching their content. They might want to think of a cyber concept that could get students excited about mathematics. Some students are very difficult to motivate and get excited about anything related to core content areas. So I think that cyber element is definitely a way that it levels it up and allows students to do that. The teachers and the feedback that they provided was they really appreciated this was not something that was sort of in a vacuum where, okay, oh, that might sound great, but have you actually done this lesson with real children? They didn't have that, pushback at all with anything that was done because they saw the possibilities in a real-time classroom environment.
Mm-hmm.
And most schools are not going to open up that opportunity because there might be a concern about what people might observe. There might be some things that they would see that they might not want people to take away. But I think that definitely having that experience in more of a real world example of what it looks like, it allows them to embrace the concepts as something, okay, I can do this and I can take this back in my own classroom.
Yeah, and she talked about feedback, and Mary Claire, I've got to sit in, and I think it's amazing that in these sessions, you actually, instead of, hey, we're going to send you a survey and a form and fill this out, you allow those teachers to give you direct feedback in the moment. What'd you like? What'd you not like?
Yeah.
Please help me make this better.
Yes.
Talking about just the immersion days first, can you talk about a little bit, not to, it's not fair to ask you to brag on the work that you did, but to a level of like things that you heard back from teachers that you thought were encouraging and things that are unique, and also like, hey, this is what we're kind of building the foundation on because these teachers told us that this worked for them. Can you care to share any of that with us?
Those roundtable discussions, I think, were super eye-opening, and just that a lot of them had never had the opportunity to see somebody else teach. Math and science teachers are one of the groups more likely to come from industry, less likely to have student taught, less likely to have had and so they may have had a mentor teacher, but when you are on a 7-period day, you've got one planning period. You might be teaching 3 or 4 different classes. And I spent 20 years at an amazing high school. Never once was I expected to, encouraged, was it facilitated for me to go visit another school. So unless that's an initiative of your school, you've never had that. And it's commonplace here. We're in each other's classrooms. We are encouraged and expected. And the silly classroom management tip of, well, I'd never thought to write what time lunch is on the board until I saw somebody else do it. And that all of a sudden changes your routine. So I think their appreciation of seeing someone else do this thing that they do really helped. And then when they left here, we asked them to take something back, anything back, and let us know how it went. And seeing that an idea from our classroom got landed in a 6th grade science classroom 4 counties away was kind of magical for us and caught me off guard, that the impact that had, and that they are trying to expand their offerings for their kids. They just need a little bit of help. They don't need a lot of help. They just need a little time and space for them to keep doing this incredibly hard thing.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about what we have done, and I'm going to stick with you here, and y'all can back and forth on this, but can you talk a little bit about maybe what is coming? Like, talked Immersion Days, we talked this 2-day PD. Can you share with us, like, maybe some concepts that we have? I know this summer we've got some other things going on that are already filled and booked, but I think it's good to educate people if this is what we are doing, but also open up if these are some things we're starting to speculate. I know Amy's working with Power School to get dates put in and all this, but like, just talk to us a little bit about what's in the pipeline for this initiative.
So in the end of July, we are expanding beyond Teams teachers. We will always provide Teams approved PD, or I guess as long as Power School approves this. We will continue to do that, but they're not the only teachers in the state, and they're not the only teachers that have a need for these skills in their subject. You can teach math and science and engineering and computer science and not be a Teams teacher. So in the end of July, we are doing some training. The first one is really geared toward career tech teachers or people who will be teaching the artificial intelligence course that we developed. So that's super exciting. We have a goal to get that into 30 classrooms. And I think right now we've got about maybe 25 teachers signed up to come. So I'm nerdily excited about that. But then we're also trying something new when we're in Mobile at the end of July, where we're going to do some tiny 3-day sessions open to any grade level, any subject area, middle school or high school teacher. It's just kind of, what is AI? What is this thing that landed in my lap? Just to take a minute and learn about it so that you have a little more understanding of how it works and they know how it's impacting their life, but I don't think they've had a chance to get their hands dirty. And then I'll let Amy talk about, we're literally after this, I think, going to sit down and work on our schedule. So I'm going to let Amy talk about that bit of it.
Yes. Yes, we saw a huge demand for some of the trainings we offered this year, to the point where we were full within a few days of posting these Cyber Immersion Day courses in Power School. And so we do very quickly. At first, we wondered if anyone was going to come. And then we learned very quickly that there is a need, and we've kind of scratched just the surface of where those needs might lie. So we're looking to expand and provide additional opportunities for people to come and have that opportunity to observe instruction and see a lesson being taught and then take it with them. Like Mary Claire said, that's probably some of the best professional development that you can receive, is watching someone else teach a lesson and then figure out how you can adapt it and use your own style to make it work in your own classroom. So our hope is to provide more of those, as well as looking at things like AI and some of these other topics where we know that teachers have needs and questions. We have experts here that can help to answer those questions and hopefully support them so that they feel confident with what they're doing in front of students.
Amazing. Well, because it's out of my realm and I've not spent much time in the classroom, are there any points on professional development, maybe Mary Claire, or this whole concept that I've missed to set you guys up for that you would like to share with us, or thoughts, or I don't want to miss the opportunity for you guys to share what you've been doing and what you have coming?
I don't think so, but I think socially, everybody thinks that after the school bell rings that last day in August, that teachers are heading to the pool and the beach, and Lord, I hope they are. But they're also going to PD. That's when you make the decision about, this is something I want to bring to my classroom, or maybe this is something I want to take out of my classroom that wasn't successful. That's when they have a minute to look back. And so your teachers are out there in the summer getting together and building these collaborative relationships around the state as you sit in a PD. Perhaps the most important thing they learned was what they talked about at lunch. That had nothing to do with us, but a chance to come together with other people that believe in the same thing that you do, and that teaching this has value, and that Alabama students have an opportunity and a right to a positive education. That is powerful, and that can fill your bucket in a way that maybe not everybody knows about.
Amazing. Well, Well, ladies, I appreciate you taking the time to talk about what you have been doing and what you are doing and in the busy world of that. And if you are watching this and you're interested in learning more, or maybe it's something we didn't talk about, but you have an idea of a way that you need help in your classroom, you can email instructionaldesign@ascte.org. We'll have a slide attached at the end with some contact information on it. So feel free to reach out. These ladies are amazing and done some great stuff and already impacted lots of teachers. I guess that this last 2 days there were 14 counties represented in the building. So just really stretching arms out. Would love to get in contact with you to help and plug into professional development. And maybe you get a chance to sign up for something soon. So thank you for tuning in to the Sentinel Soundbytes podcast, and we will look forward to talking to you soon.